Hey everyone, I'm Linda Loveland, and it is time for our Ask a Farmer segment. We're here in Duplin County. I have AJ Searles here with me. He is a first-generation farmer, and you're thinking, a lot of times when you meet farmers, the farm's been in the family for generations. But with AJ, it's a little bit different because your family really wasn't into farming. How did you get started in this business?
My parents had a small farm. Started at a real young age, growing produce with them and having a large garden. And then sometime around the time I was 16, the row crop land on my parents' farm was being tended by another farmer. My dad said, you could probably do that yourself. And so I started that year. I was 15 or 16 years old with some borrowed equipment from a neighbor and some small equipment that we had. Was lucky to have a good FFA teacher at the time who had a combine to harvest it for me, and just kind of kept growing from there.
Wow, that's pretty incredible, because if you said you had a little bit of a farm when you were growing up, but nothing to like what you're doing nowadays, because you're a big row crop farmer, and gosh, what are all the crops that you grow?
We grow pretty much all the grains, and then we do pumpkins, a little bit of hay.
Oh my gosh.
We have a few trucks on the road, some excavator business, kind of really diversified. So.
And this is stuff that you've really learned on your own. So if you can imagine him as a 15-year-old boy, most 15-year-old boys are just in high school worried about, girlfriends or what, this and other, and you're like out there looking at farm equipment and getting started in the field. That's really pretty incredible.
Yeah. Maybe you should have started so early, but we're here now. So.
That's awesome. Well, it takes so much to be a farmer. You have to wear so many hats. You have to know so many different things. You have to be a mechanic. You have to work on all this stuff. You probably, you talk about plumbing, electricity. I mean, just all these different things that you have to learn how to do when you're on the farm. How did you learn all that stuff since you didn't really grow up with it?
Having Dad having a small farm and watching him and learning from him, and then also some other farmers in the community that I worked for at a young age, Alan Phillips and some other people. You learn a lot just by watching and asking questions and listening to what they had to say. I think that's important. If you want to learn, you really need to stop and listen sometimes. So
that's pretty incredible. So what drew you, though? What drew you to this? Because you talked before when, about, or I read about you in your bio that you used to ride in the combines of neighbors, and is that when it all started? The love of this? I mean, because this isn't an easy life. So why?
I guess that was it. Riding with them and catching the bug. But I never remember wanting to do anything else. I didn't play with fire trucks or anything like that. I played with tractors. And I never wanted to do anything else. So.
Wow.
And you kind of have to love it if you're going to do it. So it works out well.
No kidding. So you tend your own crops, and you also do that for other people as well. Is there one aspect of this that you really like? I mean, is it riding the tractor, or seeing the crops come up and getting ready to harvest, or what? Is there
I
one
always loved harvesting, and that's why we got into the custom harvesting business. That's what I enjoyed, and we never really had enough acres early on to farm full time, and you had to fill that gap and make a living somehow, and I was able to do that by running combines for the public. So
that's fantastic.
And helping all the other farmers around, and that's always worked really well for us.
So you've gone full in, so you're farming full time, and you're also a member of the state YFR Committee, is that right?
Correct.
Young Farmers and Ranchers Committee.
My wife and I, Crystal, were just put on this year. So
what's that been like for you, and why did you decide to get involved?
We'd been part of Young Farmers and Ranchers, and we were asked to join the committee, and we're very honored to do that. And I think this year was probably the hardest year to get on, being as COVID and everything. And but we've enjoyed our time and look forward to keep serving the next year. So.
Any final advice if people, it seems like there's been more interest in farming, at least people growing their own things, maybe on a smaller scale, but as a first really full generation farmer, do you have any advice for anyone else who maybe wants to get involved in farming?
If you really want to do it, there is a pathway to do it.
Yeah.
And it might not be what my pathway was, but you can work your way in and find a way to do it.
Fantastic. So. All right, thanks, AJ. Appreciate your time.
Thanks.
And that'll do it for this Ask a Farmer segment. We'll see you next time.